Do you want to start a thriving real estate career, but don't know where and how to start? Do you want to become a successful realtor or investor, but lack the required knowledge and skills? Gear yourself up with the best and actionable advice here on the Real Estate Rundown. Tune in as Shannon Robnett talks with industry veterans about all kinds of asset classes, market trends, challenges, management techniques, and success stories. Listen to informative discussions with valuable tips that will serve as the foundation for your incredible real estate venture. Now, here's your host, Shannon Robnett.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 274 of the Real Estate Rundown. Today, you're going to want to tune in because I am interviewing Mark Podolsky, and he is going to tell us how he is turning land into the right investment. He's going to show us how not to do land the wrong way, how to work smarter, not harder, how to automate your business to take advantage of the business instead of letting the business take advantage of you. So you're definitely going to want to tune in as Mark and I talk about what to do to invest in land the right way here on the Real Estate Rundown. Hey guys, welcome back. It's episode 274 and I am with Mark Podolsky. Good morning, Mark. How are you?
Shannon, so happy to be here. I'm doing great. My pulse is normal. My respiration is fine. Thanks so much for having me.
Awesome. So Mark, where are you in the world these days? Where are you at?
I live in Phoenix, but right now I'm in La Jolla, California.
Awesome.
Because in Phoenix, it's like scorching hot.
Yeah.
Here it's 70 degrees.
Yeah.
So all summer
like
I can
100
go.
too many in Phoenix, right?
Yeah, I go back and forth.
Awesome. So Mark, you're involved in the land investment part of the real estate business. Tell us a little bit more about that and how you got involved in that.
So if we rewind the tape to 2000, I was a miserable, micromanaged, overstressed 45-minute commute to work and back investment banker, specializing in mergers and acquisitions with private equity groups. And Shannon, it got so bad for me, I wouldn't get the Sunday blues anticipating Monday coming around. I'd get the Friday blues anticipating the weekend going by really fast and having to be back at work on Monday.
Yeah.
So my firm hires this guy and he's telling me as a side hustle, he's going to tax deed auctions. He's buying up raw land, pennies on the dollar. He's flipping them online and he's making a 300% return on his investment. Well, I'm looking at companies all day long, and a great company has 15% EBITDA margins or free cash flow. Average company is 10%. And I'm looking at companies all day long, less than 10%. So I don't believe him. Right. So I go to New Mexico with him. I got $3,000 saved up for car repairs. I do exactly what he tells me to do. I buy up 10 half-acre parcels, an average price of $300 each. I flip them online, and they all sell for an average price of $1,200 each. It worked, 300%. So I took all that money. I went to another auction, and again, this is in Arizona where I live. And again, it's 2,000. There's no one in the room, and I'm buying up lots, and I'm buying up acreage for nothing. And over the next 6 months, I sold all that property. And I made over $90,000 cash. So I go to my wife. She's pregnant. I'm like, honey, I'm going to quit my job and become a full-time land investor. And she's like, absolutely not. So I said, okay. So it took me about 18 months for the land investing income to finally exceed the investment banking income. And then I quit. And I've been doing it full-time ever since. I've done over 6,000 transactions now. And I absolutely love it.
So what do you say to the people that go, yeah, but that was 2000. That wasn't now. I mean, there's no deals to be had now. Nothing can be bought cheap and there's no auctions and, COVID moratoriums. I mean, what are your answers to all those questions?
We're doing deals every day. Basically the ratio. So I agree. Like what I paid for a year ago, I'm paying 25% more for than I was a year ago for the same property, but the ratios are the same. Now I'm marking up 25% more than I was selling it for. So the ratios are still staying the same. So Shannon, if you want, let me walk you exactly through the model and then you'll see how this works. Okay. So where do you live?
I live in Boise, Idaho.
You're in Boise, Idaho. Okay. So I'm going to pretend that you own 10 acres of raw land in Arizona where I live.
Okay.
And you owe $200 in back taxes.
Okay.
So you're advertising two important things to me. Number one, you have no emotional attachment to that raw land. You're in Idaho, the property's in Arizona. And
Right.
number two, you're distressed financially in some weird way because you're not paying your taxes. And when we don't pay for things, we don't value them in the same way.
Sure.
So all I'm going to do is look at the comparable sales on that 10-acre parcel that you own for the last 12 to 18 months. I'm going to take the lowest comparable sale and I'm going to divide by 4. And that's going to give me what Warren Buffett would call a 300% margin of safety. So I'm going to send you an actual offer on that 10-acre parcel. Let's say it's the lowest comp is 10 grand. I'm going to send you an offer for $2,500. Now you accept the offer because this entire time you haven't paid your property taxes, the county treasurer keeps sending you a notice saying, Shannon, if you don't pay your taxes, we're going to auction off that property to a tax deed or tax lien investor. So you accept it. Now in reality, 3 to 5% of people accept my quote unquote top dollar offer of 25 cents on the dollar. Now that you've accepted it, I'm going to go through due diligence or in-depth research. I'm going to confirm you still own the property. I'm going to confirm that the back taxes are only $200. I'm going to make sure there's been no breaks in the chain of title. I'm going to make sure there's no liens or encumbrances. I'm going to find out what's compelling about the property. Is there legal access? A big checklist that I outsource to my team in the Philippines that's connected to an American title company. Now, if I was spending more than $5,000, I'd bypass that process. I'd close through a traditional title company, but for $2,500, I'll trust these guys. Everything checks out. I'm going to buy the property from you for $2,500. And now here is where it becomes fun. I'm going to sell this property 30 days or less. I'm going to make a cash flow like a house. So Shannon, I have a built-in best buyer. Do you know who it is?
I have no idea.
The neighbors. So I'm going to send out neighbor letters saying, hey, here's your opportunity. Protect your view, protect your privacy, know your neighbor. So oftentimes the neighbors will buy it. Now, if they pass, I'll go to my buyer's list. My buyer's list passes. I'll go to a little website you may have heard of. It's called Craigslist. It's the 10th most trafficked website in the United States. I'll go to an even smaller one, Facebook, the buy-sell groups, Marketplace. And then I'll go to the lands, landmodo.com, landandfarm.com, landsofamerica.com, landflip.com, landhub.com, all these platforms where people buy and sell raw land. Now, the way that I'm going to sell it, I'm like, as really the magic, I'm going to make it irresistible. So I'm $2,500 into your 10-acre parcel.
Right.
So all I'm going to ask for is a $2,500 down payment for you to control that 10-acre parcel. And I'm going to get a car payment, $449 a month, 9% interest over the next 84 months. So it's a one-time sale. I'm going to get my capital out on the down. I might go 6 to 10 months out. Then I'm going to get $449 a month, 9% interest over the next 84 months, no renters, no rehabs, no renovations, no rodents. And because I'm not dealing with the tenant, I'm exempt from Dodd-Frank, RESPA, and the SAFE Act, all this onerous real estate legislation. So the game that we play is, can we create enough of these land notes where our passive income now exceeds our fixed expenses, and we're working because we want to, not because we have to.
So can you really offer the no rodent guarantee? Or maybe in Arizona, it's the jungle rat or the horned toad or something like that, right?
No rodents, because it's just raw land. What do I care?
Yeah. Most pieces of raw land have some sort of whistle pig on it or something like that. But that's an interesting model. So what does that entail? I mean, when you're looking to find your land, what percentage of the people that you're sending letters to are actually opening and responding?
3 to 5%.
3 to 5%. Okay.
3 to 5%.
So,
now, if it's under 3%, I came in too low on my offer. And if it's over 5%, get nervous. I probably came in too high and I have to retrade.
Okay. And yet you're not the one sending out the offers, right? Isn't that your virtual assistants, or are you actually doing that?
Okay. So this is my whole philosophy in life, is essentially I can always make more money. I can't get more time.
Right.
So I'm going to automate 90% of this business with software on the front end, inexpensive virtual assistants in the middle, software on the back end. So I use a program. It's called lgpass.com.
Okay.
So we upload our list into LGPass. It then does the mailings for me. It's about 60 cents for first class mail. It'll do address verification automatically. And then once that mail comes back, we get our offers back. Then we have our team handle that seller. And sometimes the seller just wants to yell at you. Sometimes they are curious about the offer. Sometimes they want to renegotiate. So that intake manager handles that piece. and they take it through the software. They're taking notes down all the way down to closing, where what used to take me 20 minutes in paperwork, purchase sale agreement, land sale contract, and promissory note, takes 1 second, just pressing a button, and we automatically send out the paperwork. Then on the back end is geekpay.io that automates the note collection. So we get our down payment, and then we do on a recurring basis the ACH or the checking account from our new buyer, and that handles all the notifications. It does all the journal entries. It does all the math, everything that we're going to want. And then our borrower can go in, because it used to always annoy me. Hey, Mark, what's my current balance? Or,
right.
And then now they can go, can I make a prepayment this month? They can go in and self-serve and do it themselves. So, and then in between there, we have our virtual assistant team in the Philippines doing our due diligence. And then we have our acquisition manager closing the deals and managing the marketing team that's also based in the Philippines, marketing the properties. So we have a small, lean and mean team, but this way we can scale and we can do about a deal a day for volume.
And how long did it take you? You said it took you 18 months, but you were working full-time. Well, you were working more than full-time. You were working 65 hours a week. It took you 18 months, but what is the typical time frame if someone's wanting to do this, to be able to send out the letters, get the responses, start to build that pipeline? What does that typically take?
We tell our clients, really spend about 2 hours a day, a focused 2 hours a day, not check email, check social media, like really a focused 2 hours a day, working in the business and learning it and building it out. So my goal is to get everybody out of what I call solo economic dependency, which means if they're not personally working, they're not making any money.
Right.
And this is the way to get out of it. But the last thing I want anyone to do is build another job for themselves. So we really want to get them out of the business entirely. So I work about 2 hours a week in Frontier Properties.
Okay. And are you, were you one of the principals in Land Geek, or is that just a software that you found that works for your purposes, or?
Oh, yeah. So LG Pass I developed, as well as geekpay.io. So it's made by land investors for land investors.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And that's where, when you were talking about it so comfortably, I kind of got a sense that you probably had a lot to do with how exactly it processed. What was it that, you came from an investment banking background, you get into land deals. Now all of a sudden you find yourself as a software developer. How did you pull all that together to build your own software?
So, well, LG Pass was basically, I need this. So I'm a geek, and, I have a mentor who's also a geek, and he comes from Silicon Valley space. So he could help me find the right people to develop this out. Then I was using a solution that I thought was really good to manage my notes, but they're nickel and diming me. And if you ever watch Curb Your Enthusiasm, I created my own spite store. I'm like, you know what? I can do this better. Right. And so I did. I created a spite store and did it.
Well, but that's, necessity is the mother of invention, right? You needed this, you needed it to work properly. You needed it. And the reason that I asked that question is there's so much software out there that are built by people who build software, not by people who actually do the work that the software is supposed to help with. And you wind up beating your head against a wall trying to figure out how to make this stupid software do real world things. And I think that that's important, that people know that this is built by a land investor for land investors in order to make sure that they make the right decisions, and that this thing actually has a flow and a pattern to it that makes sense, right? Because so often that's not the case.
Exactly. And it's nice to know that when you have something that you personally want, you're talking to the owner who's actually using the same software as you in their own business. Like, oh, that is a good idea.
Yeah.
Let's do that. And so we're continually making updates that everyone can benefit from, because I benefit from it, then they benefit from it.
Do you only buy the land from the mailings, or do you actually then go to the auctions still now and go through that process as well if you get no response?
In a market like this, I don't want to go to the auction. It's so competitive. I want to get the property before it goes to auction. Okay. Now, if, let's rewind the tape to 2008. Well, auctions were great. No one in the room. No one really had a lot of cash. So, the only reason I survived in during the Great Recession was I was doing all cash deals. So I wasn't leveraged. Like my buddies who used leverage, they had bigger houses and cars than me, but then they were out of the game because they were over leveraged.
Right.
Where, I took it a much slower approach. So yeah, so right now I would say I'm avoiding auctions. I'm really doing the mailers. I'll buy wholesale from people as well, as long as they leave enough meat on the bone for me as the retailer. Mm-hmm. But otherwise, if I'm not getting it in from a wholesaler or a direct mail, then, this is more advanced. Most people don't do what I do, but I if I'm doing a bulk deal because I've got more capital to deploy, maybe I'll go to a tax lien fund and they've got a bunch of land. They got a spreadsheet off their books, and then I can buy, in bulk there. So there's always deal flow sources depending on what part of the monopoly board you're playing in.
Right. So what is your, so are you still putting in 2 hours a day into this business, or have you completely automated it and essentially stepped away?
Now I'm probably more 2 hours a week now in the business.
Okay.
So Mondays are my terminal days. Mondays and Fridays are what I call my terminal days. I theme my week. So I always pretend this is my last day on earth. How do I want to spend that day? And it's usually doing very simple things. I want to spend time with my family and my friends, meditate, work out, connect essentially with my important relationships. Tuesdays are my podcast days, and I have my own podcast. And then on Wednesday, I have my team meetings and we just talk to the team. And then Thursday is going to be client meetings. And then Friday is my terminal day. So, but within Frontier Properties, it's about 30 minutes a week, making sure that numbers are going the way they need to go.
Right. So if I were to ask you, what was the last deal you did, would you even know?
No, I wouldn't know the last deal I did. I can tell you that we're doing
that's truly automated, right? I mean, that is truly automated.
Yeah. I had a meeting this morning with my acquisition manager, and he said, we're killing it. We can't keep anything in inventory. And he feels like Marty Bird. If you ever watch Ozark, there's a lot of pressure. We don't want cash. So cash is trash. Like there's a lot of pressure, like get that money out of that account, buy land.
Right.
So there's pressure.
Right. Yeah. So how many transactions are you doing a week?
So, we want to do,
that number, right?
A deal. Yeah. We want to do a deal a day. So our goal is a deal a day.
Okay. And how is that going with everybody hears about, the tax strategy sale. Everybody hears about these strategies and everybody takes them out of context as far as when they work. Right. And so I'm curious, you're even in as hot a market as we have, you're still doing a deal a day. You're still getting a 3 to 5% return on the mailings that you send out. You're still, you've got every day, you've got a guy paying his last 84-month payment. You've got a guy paying his first 84-month payment. You're getting a down payment. Every day, one of these things is happening for you and is continuing that in perpetual motion and has automated for the last, how long?
20 years now.
20 years.
I didn't start automating until, I shouldn't say that. I didn't figure this stuff out probably till, I don't know, maybe 2010. It took almost slow.
Right. So you actually worked 9 of the last 20 years is what you're saying.
I worked 9 of the last 20 years. Yeah.
Well, everybody break out the violins for Mark, right? I know. And that's so great. And so the original guy that you went to the auction with that showed you how to do this, is he the mentor you mentioned?
He really wasn't a mentor. Like he was kind of blind leading the blind. He just knew it before me. And then, we were just kind of doing it together. Then he started doing his own thing and I started doing my own thing.
Is he still doing it?
He's still doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're a deal junkie, you don't ever stop doing this.
Well, that's what I've heard, but and you go to the title agencies and you see the old guys still doing deals. So I'm hoping I'm one of those guys that's still doing deals. So as people get involved with this, what is the right way to get started? I mean, where do you get a list?
Well, first of all, like you got to figure out what county you want to be in. Shannon, let's face it, right? Nobody wakes up, thinks to themselves, boy, I like some raw land in Minnesota today, unless you live in Minnesota.
Well, and
right?
I was hoping you weren't going to say Idaho because I actually did wake up with that thought today. So I'm glad you threw out Minnesota.
yeah. Idaho's nice.
Yeah.
But, so I'm going to focus on the Southwest. I want New Mexico, Colorado, Arizona, Texas, California, Nevada, a little bit in the Northwest, Oregon, Washington, and then Florida. We're doing a big development deal right now in Tennessee. I'll do some deals in Arkansas, Missouri. Those are pretty areas. But for the most part, I want my biggest buyer pool. So we're going to get the best buyer, the biggest and best buyer pool in those areas. So that's really where we want to focus on first. And then from there, getting a list isn't difficult. It's public information.
Right.
Let's say it's an older county. Maybe I'll have to buy a list. I'll go to datatree.com. And if you're listening to this, you can get a discount, datatree.com/the Land Geek. There's my shameless plug.
There you go. You got to have those, man. Come on.
There you go. So, you can do that as well. And you can get a list. So, any list beats no list, essentially. And then use the software to automate it. If you're super cheap, you don't want to automate it, get your kids to handwrite the envelopes, whatever you want to do. But get that mail out.
So when someone's wanting to start with this, I mean, how big of a list do you need to start?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on how much capital you have. So let's just use some round numbers. And if we're getting a 3 to 5% response rate, well, after due diligence, maybe we got a 1% close rate. So for every 100 offers, we're going to do a deal.
So if you're wanting to do 365 deals a year, or do you take Saturdays and Sundays off?
No time off.
Okay. So 365 deals a year, you're going to need to send out 365,000 letters.
Correct.
And you're going to spend 60 cents on each one. So you're going to be about $200,000 in expenses in that first year to do 365 deals.
Right. But you're calling it an expense. I'm calling it an investment.
Well,
because my return on that mail is massive.
Sure.
So now if I was a newbie, the way that we train our clients, it's like the 7-minute workout, right? So if I said, hey, you're going to start and you're going to do a 2-hour workout today, how many people are going to drop out? But if I say, look, 7 minutes is all I want you to do. So we recommend 20 offers a day, because if you're starting out and you're doing 1,000 offers a day or something, you can't handle the due diligence.
Right.
You don't have the team built out. So you want to start out slowly. You want to manage your growth. 20 offers a day is really what we recommend to start.
Okay. So that's something that, and those, do you repurpose that list? Do you hit that list more than once? Do you send out one letter and call it a day? We're going
to remail every 90 days to a profitable county. Absolutely.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
So you're really about teaching people how to automate that process, get your list, get started, and move forward with this with a minimal of investment. I mean, you call it what you want. There's a minimal upfront cost, because by the time you've made your offer, you may have spent a couple $100 in mailers before you've got, offers that are coming back and being accepted. I mean, if I do the numbers correctly, and you're talking about, 20 a day, I'm going to be several months before I've hit my 300, and I'm going to have 3 active offers just by the numbers.
Right. If you want to shortcut it, we've got a free course I'd love to offer your listeners.
Sure. Go ahead.
It's the landgeek.com/quick deals. And it's a wholesaling model. So you can eliminate the mailings and just buy wholesale from somebody and then sell it retail. So you eliminate the mailing costs. I shouldn't say cost, the mailing investment up front, but you speed up that process. So you can make, instead of, maybe 300 to 1,000%, maybe you're making 200 to 500%, but then you can use that money and reinvest either into more wholesale, or then start investing into more traditional retail deals and going through that process. But the best way to learn anything is to do it. So you can dip your toe in the water that way with really minimal risk, really minimal effort, see if you can double your money in 30 days or less, and then decide, okay, this is something that resonates with me, and go a little bit deeper into the model.
Nice. Well, that's definitely interesting. Why is it so simple, but not very many people do it?
Well, it's not sexy. You're not going to go on HGTV or the DIY network and see Flip This Land. The before pictures raw land. The after pictures raw land, right?
You don't go out and see every single one and pick up this is caliche. This is good. This is good building material clay.
Yeah. I mean, it's really boring, really boring.
Yeah.
So I think that's one, that's number one. Number two, it's not a visual medium as well, in the sense that we can all understand the sense that everyone needs a place to live.
Right.
Nobody needs raw land, but 99% of what we have in our lives, we don't need. People want it, but they don't need it. So I think that's also another barrier to entry. I think number three is, this is if we look at, let's say, Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow quadrants, you got the E is employee, S is self-employed, think doctors, lawyers, small business, B is big business, and then I is investments. Well, we're asking you to start in the S quadrant and quickly go into the B quadrant, which then leads into the I quadrant and become a full-time investor. Mm-hmm. So, but it's really starting a business,
right? To
build out this team, build out the automation. So if you're not entrepreneurial, this is an active investment strategy. It's not like other ways to build passive income, for sure.
So what would you, if someone's looking to get started and they're just your average person, it sounds like this thing is ideally suited for the average person, but what kind of capital do they need to get started on this journey?
I start with $3,000. My buddy Durant started with $800. I'd say ideally, I mean, I tell people, you got $500 to $5,000, you can get going.
So $500,000?
No, 500. Yeah. Yeah. Right.
No, you sound like a televangelist at that point.
Yeah. So, and if you don't have $500,
probably not for you.
you probably need to get something else going on.
Yeah.
But like
there's goals, right? I mean, you've got to, some people might need that step to get motivated to get the $500 to get in the game. Right. But after that, you've made your first step. Now this can be your second.
Yeah. My client, Mike Zano, he started $40,000 in debt, and he was able to get out of debt in his first year just doing cash flips.
Yeah.
And then, he started building up his business from there.
That's great. Well, Mark, this is super interesting just because of how you never hear about it, right? I mean, it's almost a conspiracy theory because you never hear about it. You're right. Nobody's on DIY with this. Oprah's not talking about it. There's not book deals involved. But what do you say to the naysayers? I mean, everybody has those, right? I mean, people don't want to believe it, but what do you say to the people that say, Mark, this can't be done?
Well, I mean, so investment Mark says, okay.
Right.
And then, the person, the hopeful part of me, the person that wants to help you get out of solo economic dependency, maybe you can buy into that. Right. And maybe this model isn't right for you, and that's okay. I'm more interested in people living their best lives.
Right.
And, becoming totally free to work when they want, where they want, with whom they want. I'm teaching a model I think is great, but maybe it's not great for them. But as long as they're doing something like that, and then once you've solved your money problems and your time problems, you can move up Maslow's hierarchy of needs into self-actualization and really figure out what you want to do in life. I think that's really the big problem that I'm trying to solve. Figure it out for yourself, try it yourself. I'm from Missouri, we're the show me state. I didn't believe it either.
Yeah.
But that's what I would say. But I don't want to be in the convincing business.
Well, and and Mark, I think your answer is perfect, because what I've found is that the more someone tries to sell you on something, the more it is exactly that. It's a sales job, where someone's trying to inform you and go, look, I can't lead a horse to water, but I can't make him drink. I mean, I showed you the opportunity. If it's for you, great. If not, no big deal. But it's interesting because, people will discount it before they even try it. And that's one of the things that I love about doing this podcast, is that I get to interview all kinds of people. And since I'm really real estate agnostic, right? I mean, from insurance agents to property managers to guys like yourself that are talking about land. I mean, this is not something I'm a fourth generation realtor. I should have heard of this, right? But I haven't. This is my first exposure. But that doesn't negate it and make it unreal. And that's the thing that I love about this podcast, because even I'm able to learn something new. And teaching an old dog like me is pretty substantial. I mean, new tricks is definitely not something I hear about all the time. So this is really great information. I appreciate you giving this to our listeners. Where can they find you in the great wide world of the internet? I mean, you mentioned it a couple of times, but I just want to get it out there. Where can they find you?
I think the best place to start is thelandgeek.com.
Okay. Really simple, guys.
Go there. Yeah.
Really simple. Well, thanks for being with us today, Mark. I'm looking forward to everything that you've got on your stuff here and digging into it a little bit deeper. I've already bookmarked the Land Geek and LG Pass. So it's already bookmarked on my window browser here. And thanks, guys, for tuning into the Real Estate Rundown. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Real Estate Podcast or the Real Estate Rundown on Spotify and iTunes. I'm getting a little tongue-tied here. And wherever you get your podcast, so you'll get automatic updates. You can also find us on Instagram and YouTube. Leave us a review. I love to hear your feedback. And if you like what Mike had to share today and you want to go ahead and give him a follow on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, you can also find him at the best passive income model anywhere. And you can check out thelandgeek.com. So, Mark, if you want to say any closing words.
Yeah, Shannon, I like to close off with a Zig Ziglar quote. If you'll do for the next 3 to 5 years what other people won't do, you'll be able to do for the rest of your life what other people can't do.
That's an awesome way to close this out, Mark. I sure appreciate you showing up on the show. Appreciate that. And guests, I hope you got something out of this, and we'll see you next time on the Real Estate Rundown.
That's a wrap for today's episode of the Real Estate Rundown. Let these newfound strategies pave the way to start a successful career or a profound rebranding. If you loved everything you have heard, listen to more conversations at www.shannonrobnett.com. And be sure to leave a rating, share it with your friends, and subscribe. Until the next episode.